What's the cruelest thing you've done to yourself in the name of love? It wasn't some huge explosive betrayal or one dramatic decision. It was slower, quieter, like water dripping on stone, wearing me down so gradually I didn't notice until I was almost gone. And the worst part, I was the one holding the chisel. It started with tiny moments. The first time was so small, it's almost laughable now. We'd been dating a few months and I had plans to see a friend I'd known since childhood. At the last minute, he pouted, saying, "Do you really have to go? You'd rather hang out with them than me?" It didn't sound controlling at the time, more like insecurity. So I canceled. Just one night, I told myself it didn't matter, but then it happened again and again. Slowly, I stopped seeing that friend altogether. He didn't like my music either. I loved blasting old rock songs in the car, rolling the windows down, and singing so loud I didn't care if strangers stared. He said it gave him a headache, so I turned the volume down. Then I stopped singing. Then, eventually, I stopped reaching for the stereo altogether. It's embarrassing how many of those little pieces I gave away. My favorite book sat unopened on my shelves because he teased me about being boring. My journal, where I used to write poems and stories, started collecting dust because he said writing was a waste of time. My friends would call, but I'd let it go to voicemail because I didn't want to deal with the sigh he'd give when he saw their names on the screen. None of these moments felt catastrophic on their own. Each one seemed like a reasonable compromise at the time. Relationships are about sacrifice, right? That's what I kept telling myself. But looking back, they weren't compromises. They were erasures. Every small choice chipped away at who I was, and I was the one holding the hammer. The worst decision I made came a couple of years in. I had been accepted into a residency program I'd worked toward for years. It was everything I wanted. A chance to move, to grow, to build a career doing something I loved. But the program was in another city, hours away. When I told him about it, he didn't yell. He didn't forbid me. He just got quiet. His silence filled the room like smoke, choking me. Then he said, "So, you're just going to leave me behind?" I didn't want to hurt him. I didn't want him to think he wasn't enough. So I turned it down. I told myself that staying was the mature choice, that love was more important than ambition. I smiled as I hit decline on the offer. But inside, something shattered. That was the day I learned silence can be more powerful than any argument. His silence pushed me into betraying myself. After that, I slipped further into the background of my own life. I stopped calling my family as often because he complained that I told them too much. I gave up painting, a hobby I'd loved since I was a kid, because he said I should focus on things that actually mattered. I even changed the way I dressed. No more bright colors, no more bold patterns, because he said they drew too much attention. One day, my mom asked me on the phone, "Are you happy?" I laughed and said, "Of course," but my chest felt hollow. The truth was, I couldn't remember the last time I'd done something purely because I wanted to. Not for him, not for us, but for me. The breaking point came on an ordinary afternoon. I was walking past a little bookstore I used to visit all the time before I met him. In the window was a poster for a poetry reading. My heart leapt, like muscle memory reminding me of who I used to be. I stood there staring at that poster for what felt like forever. And then it hit me. I couldn't even remember the last time I'd stepped into a bookstore. Something that used to define me had become so foreign. I didn't recognize myself anymore. That realization gutted me. I had given up friends, dreams, hobbies, and opportunities. But the cruelest thing I gave up was myself, all in the name of love. Leaving him wasn't easy. I kept thinking, but I've already given up so much. If I walk away now, then all those sacrifices will have been for nothing. That's the trap of erasing yourself. You convince yourself you owe it to the relationship to keep erasing, just to justify everything you've already lost. But here's the truth. Real love doesn't ask you to disappear. Real love doesn't shrink you. It expands you. And once I finally left, I had to face the hardest part. Not hating him, but forgiving myself. Because deep down, I knew he couldn't have taken all those things from me unless I handed them over. The cruelest thing I did to myself in the name of love wasn't staying with him. It was silencing my laughter, shelving my dreams, and convincing myself I was unworthy of taking up space in my own life. It was believing that love required me to abandon who I was. If I could tell my younger self one thing, it would be this. When love starts to feel like erasure, when you find yourself biting your tongue more often than you're speaking your truth, when you stop recognizing the person staring back at you in the mirror, that isn't love. That's losing yourself. And losing yourself in the name of love is the cruelest thing you'll ever do.